Hey guys, welcome back to Messy Momma Monday. So something kind of cool happened this week, and we made the decision that most people wouldn't make, which is kind of cool. So if you watch this video, you can be like, wow, why did y'all choose that decision? But that's fine. You don't have to agree with our decision. It's what we feel best for our family. So this past week, my husband could not work because we had an ice storm here in Texas. That happens, everything shuts down. So he was off Monday through Thursday, just like our kids were out of school. And so he went back to work Friday, and the kids went back to school Friday. But then he worked Saturday and Sunday this weekend as well, so he could kind of like at least make up part of the check that he would be missing for last week, because they don't get paid if they don't work. Doesn't matter if it's weather. If they are not at the job, they're not going to get paid for it. Construction life, non-salary life, that's how it goes. So I think it was, I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday when he called me. I don't really remember which day it was. It was Friday or Saturday. And he was at work and he said, call me in a minute, or call me when you get up, because I may have not been awake yet. I don't remember, but he said call me. So I called him, and he said that he just got an offer, and the offer was for a little more than twice what he's making a year right now. And in our situation right now, he's the only one working. I'm not working this year because we just moved, and I'm staying home with our youngest child. And doing school, so I'm taking a break from work this past year. And so he's the only one working. He took a huge pay cut when we moved here, and we are still being able to pay the bills every week. So if we get the bills paid, then I'm happy. So he got this offer. It was more than double what he makes now. So it would be well cushioned. The bills would always be paid. We would have a lot of extra money. And we said no. Yeah, we said no. I know that sounds crazy, that we said no, but it was about 2017, and my husband had been traveling off and on, mostly just on, and it was never a set schedule. He didn't have the oil field schedule, even though he works in the oil field because he's an electrician. He was not 2 on, 1 off, or 1 on, 2 off. He didn't have that luxury of that schedule. He just worked, and when they got time off, he came home. So a lot of times it would be like a month. One time, a few times, it was 2 months before he came home, and I was either pregnant, or I had a little baby, or our children were small because we started having kids in 2012, and he's been working like that since 2011. So he was hardly ever home. Yeah, he was making a lot of money because when you work away, you get what they call per diem, and that pays for your stay away. Sometimes it paid more and we had extra from that. Sometimes it was barely enough to pay for his stay, because in certain locations where he would stay, if he didn't have when we didn't have our camper, it was really expensive because they jacked the rates up because they had a lot of workers staying with them. So it was crazy. He was never home. I was always by myself with the kids, and it was just crazy. And so about in 2017, I told him I would rather be dirt poor and have you home every night with me and our kids than you work on the road and have a lot of money. And he agreed. He 100% agreed. So he came off the road for a little bit and then kind of went back on for a little bit. So it was about 2019 was when we actually came off the road, and that's when we did the whole him being home and us making a little bit of money. And then not quite a year before we moved, but close to a year. No, it was about a year before we moved. He got this job, and he was making I was working and he was working, and he was making a ton of money, and we got to go on like 3 different vacations. Might have been 4. We just had the extra money to buy all the things. We didn't have to worry about bills being paid. We just had a lot of extra money to throw around, which was great because we got some things. We got to buy a new car, which we needed. We got to go on these vacations and make memories with our family. We got to buy our kids and spoil them with Christmas and birthday gifts that year, or trips, because we actually went on vacation, and my daughter's birthday was the last day because her birthday's in the summer. We did a destination Christmas. We went on a vacation that was 2 different locations, one in Arkansas and one in Oklahoma, but they were like 3 hours apart, so it was like a week we spent doing that. So we had like a full circle with my parents. We had fun. Me and James got to go on a 4-hour away trip for our anniversary, and it was our 10 years, so it was really awesome. But we did all these things, and we had all this extra money, and we were blowing it, and we were just buying all the things we ever wanted, and we just had an abundance and everything. But that job did not have guaranteed hours. Sometimes he would get off at noon if he was local, and sometimes he wouldn't be home till midnight, 10 o'clock, because with his job, he would have to travel. He had a van, and gas were paid for by the company, so he didn't have to use his vehicle. But he worked a lot in Dallas, and that was 2.5 hours. And then he had to do some in Texarkana, some Louisiana. And so he had to drive 2 hours a lot. So he would get up really early and drive there. And sometimes that job would take literally all day. So he wouldn't get home till 10 o'clock at night. He would miss baseball games. He would miss award ceremonies. It would just be awful. He was off on the weekends, and he was home every night, but the hours were just terrible. It was like him being gone because I was doing everything anyway. But him having that job set us up for our move here, because it allowed us to buy a new car. It allowed us to have money to live off of before we moved into this house, because we had to stay in a hotel, so we had to buy food that wasn't being able to be cooked. We only got to cook some things, so we had to go out to eat, and that cost a lot of money for a family of 6. So God provided that job for that season to set us up for this move, and I am very appreciative of that. So back to moving here, he took a huge pay cut. And with me not working, is about $2,700 a month less than what he was making with that other company. And so we have always, not always, in the last few years, we have been really good at letting God have control of our finances. And every day when I pray, when I start my prayer, I thank God for always providing the money to pay our bills and to put food on the table. Because me and my husband agree, as long as those things are taken care of, as long as the bills are paid, food's on the table, we're good. We don't need anything extra. We don't have to have anything else. We're still able to make the car note on my new car we bought a year and a half ago. His truck is still working. It's been paid off for years. We've never had to pay on it because it was like a $2,500 truck my dad bought from work that they were getting rid of, and he gave it to us because my car broke years ago. So his truck has been paid for. There's no payment on that. The only thing we have to pay for is gas and our bills. And so we said no. We said no to that job because family is way more important to us than any amount of money. My husband being home to help take care of the kids is more important. My husband being home so the kids can run to him every day after school and tell them all the things is more important. My husband being home to go to baseball and softball and basketball and cheerleading and all those things with us and see his kids do these things is more important. My husband being home so that if I get sick, he can take over is more important, because I never had that luxury before. So it wouldn't have mattered how much they offered us for him to go to work. It would have taken him from our home and put him back on the road, because it's not a local position. It's not anything that he could say yes to without it being guaranteed that he would be home at 4 o'clock every day like he is now. Yeah, sometimes in this job, he will work Saturdays to get overtime because they need to finish up jobs. And if we don't have anything, I'm like, go ahead, that's fine. It's not an everyday thing. And he's not missing anything on Saturday. It's not, all he's doing is missing hangout time, but they don't usually, they only work till like 3, or sometimes they get off before that. So it's not like it's a huge deal, because he's home every night at 4 o'clock. He gets off at 3:30 and gets home at 4. And over the summer when he started working, or August to October, he was getting home at 3:30, so he would go with me to pick up the kids from school. Those are things that he would miss out on if he took a job based on the money. That wasn't our calling. That's not what God had in store for us. God always has the next step for us, and he always reassures me. This whole week, or since he called me about it, well, actually, even before he called me about it, anything that I watched, anything I listened to, and anything that I read was about finances, and about letting God have control, and about, I've seen tons of videos lately about blue-collar men being important to be home with their families. It's not about the money and all these things. And they're completely right. It's not about the money, and it's not that way with us. It used to be early on in marriage, but it's not the way with us. So we turned it down, which is not what a whole lot of people would do with the amount of money that was offered to him a year, because we would be set up even more than where we were before we moved, because it's more than what he was making before we moved. But we said no, because God has it in control, and it's not worth our mental health. It's not worth our family stability. It's not worth our family unit. And it's not worth us missing time with each other, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So any time we get to spend with each other is a huge blessing. And I don't want to have the agonizing mental load of, what if he gets hurt at work and I never get to see him again and he's been gone for a month? What if something happens to the kids and he can't get home in time? Like, I don't want that worry. And I don't worry about money, because every week God provides and our bills are paid. If we have money left over, I am rejoicing. If we break even, I'm 100% rejoicing, because the bills are paid, and that makes me happy. So I just wanted to, yeah, it's not about the money. If you can do life with knowing that you have each other by your side and your family's together, and you can grow as a family and do all the family things, you can do all the things without money. You just have to try. You don't have to do a whole lot of vacations. You can go outside. You can go to the local parks and the national parks that are close by, and just get outside, make pillow forts and cushion forts in the living room. Like, you don't have to have money to make memories with your family, and you don't have to have money to be happy. And I can say that truthfully, because I've had both sides. I've had money and I've had no money, and I'm way happier with no money and my family together. So just think about that. If you can reduce some debts, or you can get rid of some things, and you can make it where your family spends more time together, I highly recommend it. And let God completely control your finances. And don't get bummed out when you barely have anything left, because everything's paid. Thank you.